How's it going, everybody? It's Stas here. Hope you guys had a great weekend and are ready to get back into it. I for sure am. And in today's video, we're going to break down some charts, my thoughts on the markets, my game plan for this week, and we're going to talk about a bunch of stocks, which all of the stocks we're going to talk about today are reporting earnings this week. So sit back, relax, take a sip of your coffee, go down below, get your $50 from M1 Finance. Literally, all you have to do is use my link, deposit $100, and we each get $50 free to invest with. And you guys could check out my Patreon, which, by the way, it's the 1st of August. Happy new month. Today's the best day to sign up for all my buys, sells, call outs, and a bunch of exclusive content. All of that's on Patreon, linked right down below. So let's get right into it. Starting off with SPY, let's break down quickly what ended up happening last week. And honestly, there's not much to break down. We had a pretty choppy week last week. We consolidated for most of the week, and we were trading between 438 to about 442, 441.80 to be exact, which is the all-time high right now when it comes to SPY. And a good sign, I guess you can say, for the bulls, and you guys can see it here on the hourly chart, is the fact that we held all last week pretty much the previous all-time high from the middle of July at about 437, 438. We held that as support, which is great. And you guys can see on Thursday, we hit an all-time high. We pulled back into Friday, and we ended up bouncing on Friday and closing up on an upswing. You can see that on the intraday chart. Even though we had a red day on Friday, SPY went down 0.5%. I still consider it a win for the bulls. The fact that we held the 180 SMA here on the hourly at a higher low, and we bounced into the close. So we saw choppiness, guys. We hit the all-time high, and I want to see this week direction. Do we end up breaking above 441, 442, and seeing a nice breakout to maybe the mid-440s, high 440s? Or do we end up collapsing under 437? Do we fill the gap down to about 435, followed by 430? I want to see where we end up picking in terms of direction. That is what I'm going to be waiting for on SPY. And pretty much the same thing with QQQ, right? QQQ didn't have as bullish of a close on Friday. In fact, I'd argue it was a pretty bearish Thursday, Friday for QQQ. I mean, look, we closed under 365. That was the high from the middle of July. And on the hourly chart here, we're pretty much hovering right around the moving averages. So I have my alert at 365 on QQQ, which, by the way, guys, if you didn't know, I'm sure you do know, this tracks the NASDAQ 100, which is a basket of the biggest tech companies out there, right? So if 365 breaks, don't be surprised if we fill the gap up to about 369. But if we fail at 365, and we're going to see what the futures are looking like. And if you guys are watching this video right now, the futures market is open, so make sure to drop a comment. I'm personally filming this at about 5 p.m. on the East Coast, so the futures market opens in 1 hour from now. But if the futures market is down big or it's breaking out, let me know in the comments. But if it breaks down, it gaps down rather, this could end up pushing maybe for a lower low in the pattern that we're seeing here, at least over the past couple of days, especially if we fail holding 360, we collapse under 360. But of course, it's too early to tell. We have to see what the futures are looking like tonight. But more importantly, because anything could happen overnight here, guys, more importantly, what the futures are looking like in the morning. Let's say at 9 a.m. on the East Coast, right before the market opens. If the futures are down bad, well, it's not going to be great. Let's put it that way. But if they're pushing up, let's say QQQ's breaking out of 365, then we're going to be looking for the gap fill up towards 369, right? So it's too early to tell, but time will tell, as I always say here on the YouTube channel, guys. So make sure to smash that like button if you guys haven't done so already. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and let's break down some stocks now and kind of my game plan with these stocks heading into this week. And you guys, just when you thought the earnings madness was over, well, think again, because this week we have some exciting companies, not as exciting as the big tech names, the mega cap stocks, but a lot of these are pretty exciting as well. We have Alibaba, Square, video game stocks, DraftKings, Mercado Libre, Virgin Galactic, Uber, and we're going to talk a lot about these in this video, so make sure you guys stick throughout the end. But stock number one, arguably the most controversial one in the community as of late, and not even in the YouTube community for stocks. In terms of the whole financial community, whether it's mainstream, you guys know what I mean, right? It's Alibaba. They are reporting earnings on, I think, Tuesday. Let me double check that for you guys. On Tuesday in the morning, 6:30 a.m. Central Standard Time. And we all know what's been going on. I mean, there's a lot of tension between China, the U.S., and especially in China within their own government. I mean, they're banning these educational companies. They don't want those companies making profit, and they were making so much money out there in terms of TAL was one of them, TAL, I forget all the different names, but these stocks got obliterated, and there's risk for deregulation, or not deregulation, delisting, right? Risks of, there's just so many risks when it comes down to these Chinese companies. And, the government out there is trying to strong arm these companies, tell them who's boss, show them who's boss, and so forth. And I feel like, and full disclosure, guys, Alibaba is one that I've been buying the past couple of weeks. I mean, I bought some at 206, 204, 205, recently in the 180s as well I was buying. So this is one that I'm willing to take the risk on, and I'm not hugely positioned in this in terms of my overall portfolio. I have a small amount in it, but it's a risk I'm willing to take. And for me, I feel like these earnings that are coming out, well, the earnings for Alibaba, is going to be very critical in terms of the short-term sentiment in the stock. Because, look, there's a lot of craziness around these Chinese companies, and you have to ask yourself, if they report amazing earnings, which I feel like they could, keyword is could, no one knows what's going to happen, but if they report amazing earnings, will this kind of drown the negative sentiment in the short term and maybe shoot the stock up a bit? I feel like it could. Let's say they crush EPS, crush guidance, crush revenue. Could the stock go 200, 205, 210, maybe 220 is pushing it, but can it go to 210 and shoot up 5-10% in the short term amongst or in the midst of this crazy noise? I think it could. So I want to see how Alibaba reacts tomorrow, the day before earnings. Are we going to see a run in anticipation of their earnings? I think that's very possible. So at this point in time, on the 4-hour chart, we are trading under the moving averages. We're more towards the bottom of the downwards channel, so keep that in mind. So if we fail breaking out of these moving averages, I mean, look, we could dump right back into the 180s, but if we do see that crazy pump into earnings after earnings momentarily, don't be surprised if we take these moving averages out and start going 210, 215, maybe even 220, although like I said, that might be pushing it. So that's kind of what I'm watching on Baba, and I don't care either way where it goes, quite honestly. I mean, if it goes lower, which I wouldn't mind, I'm going to be buying a little bit more. If it goes higher, I'm not going to buy more. I'm just going to be holding on to my shares. So either way for me, it's not a big deal, and we're going to be watching it. So that's Alibaba. Square is another one, which if you guys are in my Patreon, you know I traded this last week. I got in at about 250, or not 250, or no, yeah, it was 251 roughly. Got out at about 257, made a quick little trade there. And now the stock's down. It went down after PayPal reported earnings, and then it went down another 3% on Friday. So this could be opening up for another dip, potential dip play. You guys can see it's approaching the 180 SMA on the 4-hour chart here. It's also approaching the overall support of the trend that it's held ever since the beginning towards the middle of May. And they have earnings coming up as well, so keep that in mind. That's a bit risky here. They report on the 5th, so what is that, Wednesday or Thursday or something like that? So maybe we get a bounce play before their earnings, but this is one that, seriously, guys, I would not hold through earnings. And me personally, when I'm short-term trading, one of my biggest rules is never buy and gamble on earnings. I never do that. Never, pretty much, right? Maybe sometimes there's an exception, but literally, guys, 99%, I never do that 99% of the time. And with PayPal's earnings disappointing and the stock tanking, I'm scared that Square, it might happen to Square. But then again, you have to ask yourself, did Square already drop and price in the potential earnings disappointment? That's another thing you have to ask yourself, because it already went down after PayPal reported, and it went down 3% on Friday. So maybe it's already baking in not so great earnings report. So it's a bit tricky. You have to ask yourself. It's a bit tricky. But overall, I'm looking to see if it holds 240. Maybe it bounces up in the short term. We get a quick in and out play, maybe. So I'm watching Square, ticker symbol SQ, and I'm watching the video game giants ATVI. That's number one. This is towards the bottom of the channel on the 4-hour. They report, I believe, on Tuesday. Yeah, they report on Tuesday, and they're going through a big lawsuit right now. I forget exactly what's going on. We talked about it a couple of videos ago. It's their workers. We will not return to silence. Activision Blizzard workers walk out over toxic workplace culture. So there's a harassment lawsuit going on right now. There's a petition that's being signed. It's really just an internal battle between, I'd say, the management there and like the higher ups, and then the employees. There's a big culture problem, I'd say, in terms of Activision, and the stock, excuse me, guys, ended up tanking about 8% in one day last week, if you guys remember. And I definitely advise you all to go look deeper into this. And I'm just looking to see, look, do these earnings that come out end up washing away the noise, kind of like with Alibaba in a sense, and pushing the stock up? If so, we're towards the bottom of the channel right now. Maybe we get some sort of relief rally recovery back to the high 80s, maybe low 90s on this one. And EA is another one that I'm looking at, which is arguably a better setup, considering it's not necessarily downtrending. It's actually uptrending, making higher lows into the 148 level of resistance that it's been struggling at for months at this point. And unlike Activision, this one doesn't have any crazy class action lawsuit going on right now, or a lawsuit in general. So maybe this would be the safer one to play. So I'm looking to see if the ascending triangle plays out here on the 4-hour, and you guys can see it even better on the yearly chart. So if we end up taking out 148, I'm going to set my alert there. Maybe even 145 to 150. Let's put it in that general range. This could end up being a nice breakout play, and it really just depends on their earnings, obviously. I mean, we've been in this funk. The stock's been trading pretty boringly recently. So I personally think we got to take out 145 and start shooting up to 150, and we'll see at that point, again, if the ascending triangle plays out. So that is ticker symbol EA. DraftKings is another one I'm watching this week. They report earnings on the 6th, so I believe they report on, is that Friday? That might be on Friday at 7 a.m. on the East Coast, and this is one that I have a longer-term swing in that I am going to be holding through earnings, and I'd consider this the exception. Like I said, 99% of the time, I don't like holding my trades through earnings, and that's mostly for my shorter-term trades. Let's say I'm looking to swing trade a stock for a week, right? I wouldn't hold it through earnings, but if I'm looking to hold it a couple of months, that's a little bit different. I would at that point consider holding it through earnings, and in this case, even if it bites me in the butt, I'm holding it through earnings, and let's say it goes down to the mid-40s again, I'm just going to be adding more because I feel like overall DraftKings is so beaten down. If it breaks the neckline eventually at 55 here, the neckline of the head and shoulder, I'm thinking it's going back 60, 65, so I'm holding on for the ride here. And yeah, that's DKNG. ROKU is another one I'm personally looking at, which looks pretty solid despite the bearish divergence I'm seeing here. Take a look, right? We've been making higher lows, higher highs ever since the beginning of May. That's very obvious. You can see that here. The stock's been crushing it. I mean, it's gone from 285 to 490. Holy crap. I didn't even realize how good ROKU's been doing or how well ROKU's been doing for all the grammar Nazis out there. This is up 41% over the past couple of months. And look, the strength in the move has been dying off a bit. You can see that on the RSI, hence the bearish divergence. That's a bit worrisome, I'm not going to lie, but I'm still going to be watching it. You know, if we end up recovering at about 415, 420, let's say now that we're trading under the 50 SMA on the 4-hour chart, let's say we go down to about the 180 SMA at about 400, I'm going to be looking for a bounce in this general range, whether it be 400, whether it be 420, I don't know. Either way, I'm looking for the bounce in this range. Let me show you all with my little circle tool here. If I zoom in a bit and just draw it out, that is what I'm looking to see right now. Do we get the bounce there? Maybe we start filling the gap back up to about 460, 70, 80, 90, right around there. And maybe the ascending triangle at that point plays out, which would mean we ultimately break out of 490, but we're not there yet. That's a bit ahead of where we are. We have to see what happens in terms of the bounce first, and then we could catch the momentum upwards. And notice how we went down about 5% on Friday. I'm not sure why that happened. Let's see here. Kathy Wood snaps up 45 million in Robinhood debut. Add 7. Okay. I mean, it doesn't surprise me Kathy Wood's adding Robinhood. I feel like, yeah, she's buying up a lot of the high growth stocks, the hype stocks. That's kind of her style on the active ETFs. But overall, look, ROKU watching it. Etsy is another one I'm watching closely, ETSY. We're noticing another bearish divergence here on Etsy. Our size dying off a bit, but we're making higher highs, higher lows. And at this point, we're trading under the 50 SMA on the 4-hour, but we're holding above the 180 SMA. So I want to see if we get some sort of bounce up, a continuation play here at about 180, 185. Maybe we end up rallying up towards 200, 205 again. That'd be a nice little move of about 10, 12 to 15%. And you guys can see here based on this. Oh, and I forgot to mention, ROKU is reporting earnings this week. Again, all of these stocks are reporting earnings this week. ROKU reports on the 4th, which is Wednesday. Etsy, I believe, is the same day. Yeah, that's on the 4th. And these are both after market hours. So watch out for ROKU. Watch out for Etsy. Mercado Libre is another one. This is a big e-commerce company out of Argentina, and they've been beaten down. I mean, they were at $2,000 back in January. Now they're at $1,500. So they're still down about $400 or $500 per share from the all-time high. In other words, they're down 25%. So they're in a bear market, but they've been recovering nicely as of late, ever since the beginning of June, with earnings coming up here on the 4th. So that's also on Wednesday. And notice how we're approaching a pretty big resistance at about 1650, right around there. So I'm thinking if Mercado Libre breaks out of there, we might go 1700. That was the high point from the beginning of March. And then after that, there's a big gap to fill. Let's put it that way. Big gap to fill all the way up to 2,000. Will it get there in the next week or two? Highly doubtful. But over time, next couple months, hey, that could happen. And of course, it depends on earnings. A lot of these stocks, guys, listen, especially these this is not a small cap. Let me see the market cap on this one. Especially ones that are smaller in value. Let's say Mercado Libre. Let's see how much this is. A lot of these stocks in the short term, 78 billion market cap. Holy crap, that's bigger than what I thought. But anyway, a lot of these stocks, the short-term fluctuation in price and the trajectory in the short term, let's say the next month, 2 months, it usually relies, not always, but it relies a lot on guidance. Yes, guidance, earnings, and revenue EPS from the previous quarter. And usually the guidance is what moves it. Let's say Mercado Libre comes out and says, the next quarter, the next year is going to be great. We're going to kick it out of the park. The stock's usually, not always, but a lot of the time, it does well over the next coming weeks, months. So we're going to be watching Mercado. We're also looking at SPCE, which is one of my spec plays. This is a stock that I own. I've owned it for probably over a year at this point. I've owned it since about $18-20. And the funny thing is, I've mentioned this before, I bought it. It might have been, I don't know exactly when. Don't crucify me, guys. But I bought it before the first $60 run-up, right? I bought it, ran it up to 60, didn't sell anything, rode it back down to 13. I was red for a little bit, rode it all the way back up to 60, didn't sell a dime, and now we're right back to $30. And they report earnings on the 5th, so I think that's on Thursday. So I'm going to be looking to see what the earnings look like. And guess what? We're not going to get any crazy revolutionary numbers, mind-boggling numbers, because they're not really selling much of anything right now. But the good thing is, now that Richard Branson has gone up, now that they're approved to pretty much take passengers up, in the next couple of quarters, year, 2 years, we're going to start seeing some revenue numbers coming in. Maybe even earnings, although I doubt they're going to make a profit. There's no way. There's no way they're going to make a profit yet anytime soon. But hey, we're going to see some news come out in terms of, management, guidance, and so forth. So I'm all for it. And if we get some crazy updates, next big key events, this could end up moving up to about 37. That's been a sticking point past couple of months. That's a resistance from back in December, back in March, also in June a little bit. So look for that move on SPCE. Uber, I'm also looking at Uber, although the chart is abysmal. I'm going to be honest with you guys. We have a clear head and shoulder on the 4-hour. You guys can see it on the yearly chart as well. Left shoulder here, head, right shoulder. And it went down about 3% on Friday. And this is, even though I don't short stocks, I really never short stocks, guys. I don't do it the traditional way of borrowing money, selling it back, and then buying it back later on. I don't do that. And I don't really play put options either. But if I were, this would be one that I think is shortable, especially if we collapse under $43, which was that support from the middle of May. If we break under here, guys, this could start going high 30s, mid 30s, over time, especially if the earnings report coming out here this week on the 4th, so that's Wednesday, especially if that earnings report is poor. I mean, this could end up collapsing. Like I said, mid 30s, high 30s. So watch out for that. But then again, the flip side could happen as well. Earnings are good. Hey, maybe this ends up holding 43, ripping up mid 40s, high 40s, low 50s. That is also possible. But I feel like what I said before, the shorting potential is a bit higher, or the likelihood of that is a bit higher due to the technicals, the death cross, 50s crossing under the 180 SMA. I'm thinking that's a bit more likely, but hey, I've been wrong in the past, and who knows, this could end up ripping back up to $50 for all we know, right, guys? And the last one here is Wynn Resorts, ticker symbol WYNN. And this has just been abysmal as of late. Ever since we saw that run up to 140, this stock is now down to 98. It is down 32% and is getting ugly. And the thing is, guys, Vegas, the case is in Vegas, although Wynn is not only in Vegas, but listen, the cases in Vegas in terms of CV are going bananas, guys. They're going bananas. And the crappy part is, guess what? This sucks. I'm going to Vegas in like 3 weeks. So, yeah, pretty terrible time to go to Vegas, but I had this trip planned for a couple, more like 3 months at this point, 2-3 months. So my luck, the cases are literally spiking close to their highs from January. I was just looking at the chart, and it's looking pretty ugly out there. But I'm still going to go, and hopefully everything goes well, knock on wood. But look, there's a risk here with Wynn. If they end up shutting Vegas down or just limiting capacity there, or I don't know what's going to happen, guys. If we get an economic shutdown in general, not even in just Vegas, around the whole U.S., this is a serious risk when it comes to the overall stock market and for Wynn Resorts, and it could end up opening up a decent opportunity if you have more of a long-term mindset. If this starts getting back down to those lower levels, probably won't get down to $50, which is where it was in March. Wow, it actually got down to 35 in March. Holy crap. Probably won't get down that low, but could it go to 75, 80, 85? Definitely could. And I'm going to be potentially tuning into that conference call to see what they say, the management team says about the CV, how it's affecting their business out there. I'm very curious. And who knows, if it gets down to a low enough level, this could end up opening up a pretty decent value play, which I'm going to be watching out for. So overall, guys, wow, we're 27 minutes in. I can't even remember the last time a video was this long. But hey, overall, that's it. Hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, smash the like button, subscribe. Make sure to hit that like button or Jesus, guys, I said the same thing twice. Comment. That's what I want to say. Comment down below. Holy crap. I'm hungry, by the way, guys. Maybe that's it. I need to go eat some food. And check out the Patreon. Today's the best day to sign up. August 1st. You got the whole month. Check it out down below if you guys want to get my buys, sells, call-outs, morning update videos. All of that's on Patreon. Link down below. And you guys can get $50 from M1 Finance by literally using my link, depositing $100, and we each get the $50. It's that simple. So do that. Get your money. It's free. Join the Patreon. It's awesome. A lot of values dropped on there every single day. And that's it. I'll catch you all in the next video, which I did make a video earlier on my M1 Finance portfolio. I also dropped the Hawaii vlog on Saturday, which, by the way, guys, thanks for all the support on that. Hella support on that. I appreciate all you guys. So check that out. If you're interested, I'll pop them up here. See you guys there. Thanks for tuning in again, as always. Keep crushing the markets. Stay safe out there, guys. Peace out.